I guess I'm here.
You are live and good to go, and it might
All
be
right.
that the chat failed us. So,
Okay. So I'm assuming everybody can hear me, and I'm going to try to get a lot of concepts over to you in a short span of time, and also a practical thing that you can do that you can make later as an amulet that will help you experiment and work with a spirit of the year. So I'm going to start with a general idea about spirits and animism and ideas that I think we probably many of us hold in common. But let's hit it again just in case. So I believe that, and my experience is that everything is alive to some degree, has some quantity of consciousness and spirit, and that those things don't necessarily have to be spirits of place or of nature or spirits of discarnate humans or any of the other possibilities. They can also be things that are of ideas, or for folks that work with the four elements plus one, four elements plus spirit, those are building blocks for the universe, and there are other kinds of building blocks for the universe, and those also have spirits. In effect, absolutely anything and everything is inspirited in some way. And some of them overlap, some of them are very discrete and separate. It's kind of like a hard and soft polytheism thing all at once when it comes to the idea of spirits, especially of abstractions, even though they're not completely an abstraction. I bet you that some of you have heard of the Hore, which ended up turning into our word hours, but those were spirits of time, specifically of the hours or the seasons, the 3 hours, the 7 hours, the 12 hours, the 24 hours, or these beings that in Greek mythology show up as also, of all things, guardians of the natural order of things, of the gates of Olympus, of those things that are meant to be or be in a good way. So I'm going to say that the idea of spirits of durations, spirits of time, divine beings, God and goddesses, if you prefer that term, of that have a connection to the power or the presence or the landscape, if you want to think of it as a dimension that is time, all of those can be called on. And indeed, I'm going to spend a little time in the Greek stuff because that's a good starting point. They also had the idea of chronos and ion and kairos. And I'm slaughtering the words a little bit, but I don't speak Greek. And you probably have all heard Chronos, with the idea of Chronos being the god that is time, but it's really linear time, or time that is linked strongly to cause and effect that we experience as linear time. And then there's Ion, that is what you consider eternity, time that is beyond time, time that is more like an ocean rather than a river, if you will. And then the idea of kairos is the places where time is special because it is either malleable, or it's exactly the right time to make a choice or a change, or it's the place where there's a crossroads in time where things change dramatically for good or ill, or everything in between, based on that turning point, that pivot. So you can think of these beings as existing everywhere and every when, and in more than one kind of time at once. I just mentioned linear time, eternal time, and that pivot points in time. Well, we also have as folks that do some kind of magic or meditate or do some kind of spiritual work, we know that time is pretty loosey goosey, timey wimey, and very, very flexible in a lot of ways. Well, it is also something that has spirits of that moment. So, for example, if you look at the planetary hours, and some of you, if you know them, honestly, awesome. But if you don't, I would keep it really simple. Imagine, if you will, that that the days of the week, you're moving through. Each day of the week is ruled by a particular planetary force. Every hour in each of those days is also a power of that's related to a planet, and it's like, for example, on today it's Friday, which is Venus's day. So at sunrise this morning, I was up, That first hour of sunrise was ruled directly by Venus. It was like the Venus of Venus Day. So there's a lot of ways in which time can be connected to other powers or other forces. And you often see that in astrological magic of different kinds. Um, Somebody popped in of an idea of the Norns of the Norse belief, or actually there's the fates in a variety of different ways, shows up in Greek, Roman, and other cultures as well. But those are beings that deal with what I mentioned earlier, the idea of kairos, those pivot points in time, and also connecting the linear points and ending the linear points. So there are lots of ways in which the spirits related to time are strongly connected with the things that happen or don't happen for us or to us. And I think that that's one of the things why I'm going to say that working with the spirit of the year of your birth is a particularly powerful and particularly useful approach to experiencing and connecting with your own destinies, fates, and free will. And since somebody mentioned Norse stuff, yeah, this is the place where your individual soul and will and Orlog and Weird meet and produce the things that occur or don't occur. But all of us were born in a particular year. I'm a 1958 baby, so that makes it, that's the year that's my spirit year, if you will. And this is not numerology. I'm not going to do numerology, though there's a lot of good stuff that you can do with numerology around that. But I'm going to say that you are the sibling of the spirit of your year. And people go, well, there are lots of different calendar systems in different cultures and whatever. It's like, if you decide that you are using the year that makes sense in your culture. So, for example, perhaps you're going to be using your year might not be in the 19 something. Yours year might be in the 5,000. Perhaps you use the Judaic calendar. Perhaps you use one of the Chinese calendars. There are a lot of different calendars in use in the world right now. So it doesn't matter whichever one you pick. Whichever one you were born into, and that's probably the more important thing, is the one that is important for you. I mean, everyone has the image in their mind of the New Year's Eve baby, where you've got the young baby that's the beginning of the year, and then you have the old year on its last legs as the new year comes in. But think about it this way: you are a sibling of the year that you are born into. Whichever calendar you use, it doesn't matter. And as such, that is a being, that spirit comes into being with that year and is experiencing everything that exists in that year. Think about it again. It is a being that is the year and everything that came into being during that year. So what would be one of the most valuable uses of contact or communication or communion with that kind of spirit? Well, it exists as a being that is tethered to linear time, which is a valuable thing. But it is also something that is in the common, in the collective. It views the whole world, it views the whole culture, that uses it as a numbering system, that uses it as a year system, so that it has vision and prescience at a level that you don't. Because funny thing happens when you get born. A lot of the things that you knew before you were born get put on the deep back burner, depending upon who you are. And as such, we have to rediscover over the course of our earth walk, in the course of our incarnation, what we're supposed to be doing here and how to do what we want to do and where we're headed. And we periodically remember or figure out what we're supposed to be doing with our lives. And when we begin to, sometimes when we're troubled or we're faced with obstacles, begin to forget what we're supposed to be doing. I personally believe that we make pre-birth plans. I certainly also believe that we have agreements with people that are both physical and non-physical, and beings, gods, goddesses, or whatever you want to call them, as well. So as such, there are a lot of things that are in play for what you are going to do or not do with any given lifetime. And I believe we have multiple life purposes. There's no such thing as a one-purpose person. Nonetheless, it is easy for humans to be forgetful. And I'm going to suggest that the spirit of the year that you're born in was present for your birth was was present to experience and see what came into existence when you came into existence, when you came to the light. And by when suddenly you were no longer in the womb and suddenly you were out in the world and the light of the world shone upon you, the year spirit saw it, and as such it knows you in ways that are deep and profound. So what I work with most frequently with the spirit of the year is remind me of what I'm supposed to be doing. Remind me of those things that were the difficult choices that I made to choose to do particular work in this life, or show me which is my what the next step that I take to go towards the direction of getting back on track with the things that I have set aside that I should not have. So I'm going to go to a piece of practical magic because I think that it is better for us to do practical things when it comes to spiritual matters, when it comes to this. So could you do this by setting aside time every year to begin the year at New Year's? Like I have several teachers who turn New Year's Eve into a spiritual event and New Year's Day into a spiritual event, not just a day of partying. So perhaps every year with the turn of the year, you can perhaps do an observance, even if it's just 20 minutes before you go about the mundane things or the secular things, to reconnect with the spirit of the year and the spirit of the times, and to be reminded of your place in this great song, this great dance, this great chess game, whatever you want to conceptualize it, that is life, and trying to do the work here. You could do that. You could do fancy things. I like to keep simple things with me in addition to that. And I reinforce again the idea that I am the sibling of the year because we are kin. And if we are relatives to each other, there's a different kind of connection. I like using coins for magic. Frankly, let's be real, I use all sorts of things for magic. I love doing magic. Be celebrating your birthday as well as it's also the birthday that you share with the every day in the year that you were born is a birthday for the spirit of the year. So you can celebrate a birthday with the spirit of the year whenever your birthday is, and that's a great way to do it. That was from a question in the chat. But I'm going to suggest something that combines the power of magic with the power of the mundane is a coin. And I'm going to say, I don't care if it's a penny, I don't care if it's a dime, I don't care if it's a quarter or whatever. And for fun, because I was born in Cuba, I have a penny from 1958 from Cuba and a penny from the United States from 1958 because my life is kind of in both places. So that I have two coins. You can have more than one, but start with one. Now, why are we working with a coin? Well, for creating an amulet, for creating a thing that brings about a connection to the spirit of time that is related to your birth year and therefore knows things about you that you need to be refreshed with periodically. Well, the thing is that coins have the year stamped on them. They may not have. What matters is that it is something that has been consecrated by that little stamp as being, this belongs to that number year. It belongs to that spirit of that year. And that in and of itself, and the fact that there are thousands upon thousands, millions really, copies of said coin floating around in the culture, in the environment, is actually even more important because it is firmly connected to life. Currency is in the current of life. As that coin that had your birth number on it goes round from hand to hand, from place to place, it is in contact with more and more people and things. So yes, a coin from your birth year is the one that you want for this purpose. Answering a question once again from the chat, because it is not only consecrated to your year, it is also been in the flow of life, so that it acts as a grounding rod that connects the above and the below. You've got something as mundane and concrete as a little piece of metal that flows through the economy, flows through the community, changes hands from from people of different kinds, cultures, economic statuses, whatever, and this non-local spirit of place that is the spirit of the year. So that you have boots on the ground and you have the eye in the sky with that combination, so that there's a lot of other kinds of magic that people do with coins. Mercury dime being the most common one, though not the only one, but the one that most people may have heard of. But this, by the way, you don't have to make this fancy. It can be a penny, it can be a nickel, if you're feeling extra fancy or have access to it. If you want a silver dime that's your year or whatever, that's awesome. But it's absolutely not necessary. Though I do like in some ways the copper better, because it's conductive of current, and in my mind it sparks the idea when I'm rubbing the coin in my hands. So it is powerful in and of itself. If all you did was to find a penny that's your year and push your energy into it until it became, imbued with your energy, then you could use this as, while I hold this coin, I am in communion with the spirit of the year. And you can meditate, you can listen, you can gaze into water, whatever it is that works for you, because there's a lot of different ways in which people find it easier or harder to either pick up things psychically or communicate with spirits or whatnot. So maybe if you need both hands, I'm going to put it in a little pouch and hang it on my neck. I'm going to stick it in my shirt pocket. I'm going to stick it in, it's going to be somewhere on me. Or if you get real fancy, you can pop it into a holder and make it into a ring, whatever. But the point is that having that in and of itself would be enough. But you know what? Like most magical objects, amulets, talismans, charms, whatnot, the more you put into them, the better they tend to work for you. And by the way, this is something you make for yourself, ideally. Making it for somebody else, not so good. Not so good. So what would be the simplest things to do? If it were me, I would find the coin, and I would cleanse it. But the thing is, you just want to cleanse it in terms of flushing it of whatever the surface layer. You don't want to remove its identity as I am a coin. You don't want to lose its connection to the flow that it has had through all those different times and places, because that makes it more powerful in a really profound way. But what you want to do is hold that coin, maybe cleanse it in the sense of, you can do the old salt water bath thing, though be mindful, corrosive salt water. If you want, and by the way, if you're a coin collector, what I'm about to say will make you scream. But my preferred way to magically and visually make a difference is, I will take the eraser that I have at the end of my pencil, or one of those, gummy eraser things, and I will work with the eraser, and I will erase the surface layer of dirt, and I will remove the outward patina, and it will get shiny, and it will feel like, and in my mind, as I am doing that, I am scraping off anything that I don't need and just leave the essence of, I am a coin, I am currency, I am 1958, belong to 1958. It's energy and intention and the physical action. Coin collectors would scream because it's no longer a good coin for collecting, because you've changed the patina artificially, yada yada. Jewelers do it all the time when they're going to turn coins into jewelry. Anywho, so I have topped it off. It's filled with my energy. I've cleaned off the surface layer of debris. But you got the idea. But then I want to know how to add more of me in it. And here's a way to do it quickly. Everybody knows that if an object has been owned by somebody for a long period of time, or has been with that person during intense moments, that object becomes imprinted with their energy, and somebody that's good at psychometry can take that object and read it and say something about the person who owned that object. We're going to accelerate that process so that coin takes a big imprint of you. So I would collect a few things. If you happen to have your birth chart, and honestly, you should, for a lot of other magical reasons, get a copy of your birth chart. If you don't, worst comes to worst, you're going to go online and have been print one out from online. There are lots of free sources for that. So you have a copy of your birth chart. Why? Because it is a picture of your energy. Your birth chart is basically your energy DNA done in a graphic format. You can also, if you don't have that, maybe you have your birth certificate. Maybe you have a map or a picture of where you were born. Um, Maybe you have an old picture of you when you were a kid. The older the better. Maybe you have some jewelry or some clothing or some other stuff that you've had for a long time that have a special connection. Well, I'm going to put all of that stuff on an altar. I'm going to light a candle and some incense because I always work better with candle and incense. And I am going to nestle that coin on top of that pile of things that are from me and of me. And I'm going to push energy into those things and towards that coin so that more and more of my imprint gets embedded into that coin. You can see, by the way, big note on spell work. It always works better if you adjust it to the things that make sense to your practice and the things that you have. You can see a lot of different ways that this could play differently, but the essence is what matters. And that is take things that have the imprint of you and put them in communion with the coin and have them be piled on and pushed into it. And I've got the incense going and the candle lit. That's mostly for my consciousness, keep me focused. And I'm going to speak out loud several times, and I'm going to repeat my birth date. And then I'm going to say something along the lines of, I, Ivo Dominguez Jr., call upon the spirit of my birth year. I call upon my sibling in spirit. You who remember and understand all the patterns of my year, remind me of my life purposes, the promises I made, and the way that walks toward fulfillment. Let this coin be an anchor for your presence. Spirit of my birth year, bless this coin that bears the stamp of your year. Spirit of my birth year, bless this coin that bears the stamp of your year. I would repeat that 3 times. I'm not going to do it this time because I don't have the coin in my hand. And then keep it with you and work with it every day, or when you think about it, or on your birth date, or at the change of the year, or when you are at a moment where, like, do I take this job or do I go back to school, or whatever other life change, and ask the question, does that serve? Is that in attunement and alignment with who I am and what I was born to do? Is it the best use of me? Is it the best use of my time? Now, you can keep that coin forever. I would say if you do keep it forever, you can pass it on to somebody. And I have instructions with mine, because guess what? That coin, after you pass away, if somebody needs a little something to help call upon your spirit for a seance or to put on the ancestor altar, guess what? That little thing is an heirloom that has your private email address on it to the other side. So you can use it as a way of leaving it as a connection for other people afterwards. Hey, if that doesn't sound good to you, then at some point you may decide, you don't want to keep that coin anymore for whatever reason. Then clear off as much of the energy, start the process over to clean it as much as possible, except this time you're removing what you put on it, and then put it back in the flow of currency. Spend it, put it in a piggy bank that you give to a friend that's going to have a kid, has a kid that has a piggy bank, whatever. The point is, put it back into the flow of life. But I like the idea of leaving it as one more thing for the people that come after me to use as a way of connecting with me. Now, I'm going to pop up on the screen. Let's see if this works. Didn't do it, so I'm going to do it the hard way. All right, this is going to be on YouTube later, right? So guess what? I'm holding a nice little QR code up on the screen, and that leads to a handout that provides the detailed instructions on doing the ritual to create a amulet coin, and with all the bells and whistles. And I hope that some of you do it, because I have found it extremely useful as a way of connecting with myself in a different way. And I also, even if I don't have the coin in my hand, because I've used that, I now have a sense of the presence of the spirit of the year. And in fact, I view the New Year's in a different way because it's kind of this valuable moment, and my birthday in a different way. And I have had an enormous amount of benefit from it. I think you will too. But if nothing else, review how you think about um, spirits of anything, spirits of place, spirits in this case of time. And there's also bigger orders of them. So, for example, the next time somebody speaks about the age of Aquarius or the age of Pisces that we were just out of, just leaving, if you will, I will say that what you got in those is a different kind of spirit. So the spirit of an astrological age, the spirit of an aeon, those are beings as well. What if you're drawn to another year? I'm not sure why you would be drawn to that year, but experiment with it. I'm always going to say magic and practice comes from experimentation and actual practice. So if you're drawn to experiment with another year, maybe it's the year that somebody else was born that's very important to you. I don't know, but then you'd be getting a different kind of information. Regardless, you can start playing with this anytime you want. You don't have to wait until the moon is in a particular sign or phase. Is You can do this at any time, but it works on the same principles. I do not have a book that covers this particular information. I may have a book in the future that contains this information. I've got like 3 other writing projects in the works right now, so I am hoping. Um, Generational planets affect the collective, but people born within the same year probably share similar energy. It is a different kind of pattern. Um, and elaborate a bit on the order of the planetary hours. Okay, you can look them up rather easily, but I'll tell you very simply. The planetary hours are derived from Hermetic Kabbalah. The the elder planets are the ones the agents could see. The lower seven, the lower spheres in the tree of life. There's an order in which they come into being that's called the lightning flash. Those plot onto a 7-pointed star, and the days of the week follow the order of the outer points of the star. And then within any day, the order of which planet comes next, and it loops, is the order of the spheres in the tree of life following the lightning flash. And that's not a great explanation unless you know something about those things. But the point is that it is grounded in the order of creation shown in the tree of life. If you want to know what the spirit of our birth year, what is the spirit of our birth year, then there are 2 ways that you can work on the idea of the spirit of the year, and that's going to be a unique spirit. Every year is different, and how you perceive that spirit is different because it's about you and your relationship to them. But if you want to do another thing, if the spirit of your birth chart, for example, that shows, if you look at your sun, moon, and rising as a starting point, and figuring out which houses those are in and which signs those are in, you can begin to imagine a being that is a composite of those things, if you need to have a face or an image for it, so that I'm a double. My moon is in Scorpio, my sun is in Sag, my rising is in Sag. So perhaps I'm going to see my spirit of that's in the birth chart as the centaur part, but I'm going to go with Scorpio as the eagle, as opposed to the scorpion, and perhaps I'm going to see it as a winged centaur, except the arrow looks more like the spine from the tip of a scorpion at the end of it. I don't know. You can create an image for it. Remember, all beings, all spirits are not as we perceive them or as they appear to us. We've come to agreements culturally about how to see them and how to describe them. But really, in this case, it really is about you making your own personal connection to the spirit of the year. You can look up the idea of spirits of time, angels of time, gods and goddesses, archons. There's a lot of stuff. Go and experiment. It'll be fun. Is that a collection of scissors behind me? It's not a collection of scissors, but I have a lot of, I do a lot of crafty things, and I have different scissors for different purposes. And I'm trying to keep on time because y'all are on a schedule. Any other questions about this material? So I want to make sure I have synesthesia. Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. So your birth year is also a color, and for some of you that might also have sounds or smells or tastes associated, and that gives you a different way of connecting with it as well. That's awesome. You could also experiment with if you are come from a different culture, is doing one for the number for the year that you're born in and for the number that's not. I'm not sure what. Ah, okay. More another question about the synesthesia. Any other questions about spirits of time or this kind of guidance stuff, or how the spirits of time are also connected to the spirits of fate? Because it's in the moments that we make choices that we go one way or another. We make a left turn or a right turn. Also, if you haven't experimented with them, look up the Sabian symbols in astrology. There's stuff every single all 360 degrees of the zodiac each have a collection of images and ideas associated with them. So look up, you can use that as a starting point as well if you want to work with spirits of time, because think of each degree of the zodiac as a different kind of specific spirit. I think of time as being a power in and of itself, and I will say that uh, time is what allows action to occur. Just experiment with that idea, and then you'll see. And with spirits, you have the option of beings that exist with a connection to more than one kind of time. Somebody asking for the QR code again. I'll do it one more time. Hopefully, this will. Remember, you can always go to YouTube and catch it then. Alrighty. Boolorama. As to finding a coin, you can always just dig through piles, go to the bank and get a bunch of change and then go through piles. Or if you're very specific, like when I wanted to find a coin for 1958 in Cuba, where I was born, I went on eBay and found somebody that was selling coins. So there's a lot of, you can either do the patiently plowing through things, or you can go try to do a search in a place that sells coins for one reason or another. But it doesn't have to be expensive. Remember, this is pennies and nickels are just fine. Somebody says, "Do you believe that physics can prove that magic is real, not just in our imagination?" I think it goes both ways. I think that magic inspires physics, and physics inspires magic. The more we know about the physical world, the more we realize what's unknown, and the more we discover what's happened in the spiritual communities, the more it connects with the ideas of consciousness that are coming up more prominently in physics. So I don't think that there's a divide. So that will the penny be more or less powerful when it's phased out of currency? You know what? We don't know what's going to happen if when we have a different president than the one we have. So the pennies might pop out again because, frankly, it makes it harder for taxes in some places. The other thing is that they aren't going to vanish overnight. They're going to stop making new pennies, but the ones that are in circulation are going to continue to circulate for quite a long time until they become rarer and rarer and rarer. Yeah, Etsy also has coins for collectors. And if you happen to have been, and that won't be applied to too many people, if you happen to have been born in the 1 or 2 years during World War II, that briefly pennies were made out of steel, those are especially useful. And if you see steel pennies, snag them because those are very rare. They only made those for what, like 1.5 years, and yet some of those are still floating out there. It doesn't matter if the coin has been drilled and turned into jewelry. It's still a coin that was created that year. Well, my loves, I believe I am now officially out of time. Please buy my books. the ones that Llewellyn publishes for me. Hopefully, I'll have another one in the future with them, and also the ones that Wiser, and catch me on my website. I'm easy to find, ivodominguezjr.com.